The big lie of Jagmeet Singh and the NDP is that it's a party that really cares about blue collar working class people, seniors, people living on lower incomes, new immigrants. When if you observe any of the NDP's politicians, nothing could be further from the truth. These people at the end of the day are just social progressives who are resentful against people who run businesses and are actually profitable. It's not that the NDP hates excessive profits, they hate profits in any way because they define all profits as excessive, which is sort of what I'm going to be touching on in the videos that Jagmeet Singh has recently put out. This video was actually inspired by a comment from yesterday's video from George Davison, who said shareholders need a return. Most of their profits come from drug, pharmaceuticals, and cosmetics, referring to Jagmeet Singh going after big box grocery chains and pretending that they're somehow price gouging Canadians because cereal's gone up by like 5% over the past few years, even though, inflation's been going up by like 8 or 9%. Grocery stores are in fact actually losing money year over year because of the incredibly high increase of inflation. And, just to debunk what Jagmeet Singh thinks, businesses would not be in business if they kept increasing prices way outside of the price range of most Canadians. Canadians can only pay for what they can afford. And if grocery stores were increasing the prices more than they had to, they would probably actually get undercut by a different grocery chain in Canada. But he wants to be able to spread hatred towards people who run businesses, so he's just going to ignore all those facts and then just focus in on lying about company revenues, pretending they're profits, or lying about some profits and pretending that it was because of price gouging and not some other sort of financial transaction the business was involved with. But this was the tweet that really set a lot of people off, including myself, from Jagmeet Singh. I'll play the video in just a second here, but effectively he's going after Sobeys for supposedly making record profits. He says Sobeys just posted a 52% increase in profits. When you pay more, greedy CEOs make more. And I want to go into this video here because it's so hypocritical and so ironic when you actually hear his words. And then I'll come back and talk about how that post he put out actually got community noted. But here's Jagmeet Singh talking right here.
You won't believe the news that I read today. Sobeys, one of the large corporate grocery stores in Canada, just posted a 52% increase in profits in the first quarter on food alone. Now, this comes as no surprise, as Canadians have felt the impact of high grocery prices. While people are experiencing this real struggle, Justin Trudeau says that Canadians are grumbling. Well, they got a lot to grumble about. These greedy CEOs are posting record profits while Canadians are having the hardest time ever to buy their groceries. But what we have to do is take on the corporate greed that is driving up the cost of food. That is a major driver. But here's the problem. We know that Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre are going to back up their big money donors. They're not going to want to take them.
Yeah, I'm just cutting off there. It's so absurd that he pretends like the government is currently right now made up of Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre, even though that him and Justin Trudeau agree on all the policies. And if Jagmeet Singh really wanted to push for something that was, going to hold all the greedy CEOs accountable, he could do it. He's literally holding up Justin Trudeau's government right now, but he doesn't really want to talk about that. And again, what are you talking about? Like, the greedy CEOs are driving up prices. Show me a product that has been increased in price more than inflation would dictate it should be. He'll never actually show you it, because that would be a fantastic press conference by Jagmeet Singh if he was right, saying, hey, look, this pack of spaghetti used to be $3.50. Now it's $7.40. Inflation on this product would have only put it up to this price. CEOs are taking advantage of inflation to price gouge people. That's obviously not what's going on. So Jagmeet Singh has no examples. So he basically is just trying to project this vague hatred towards CEOs. And you don't have to like the CEO of Loblaws, Galen Weston, to understand that Galen Weston and Loblaws are running themselves so that they can make the most profits on the lowest possible margins, because that's how big box stores actually work. They work off of 2, 3, 4% margins on most of their products because their goal is to sell Canadians products in bulk. If they were selling products with convenience store type margins, Canadians probably wouldn't buy from them, and they'd go to Costco, or they'd go to Safeway, or they'd go to Sobeys, or they'd go to another smaller grocery store. They'd go to the farmer's market. It doesn't make any economic sense why people would be price gouging, but he's basically involved in this giant conspiracy theory, Jagmeet Singh, is that somehow all of the grocery CEOs are getting together to work with each other on how to price gouge and price fix Canadians. And he's only accusing them of price fixing because most grocery stores tend to have very similar prices. And it's not because they're greedy and they're colluding. It's because a 3 or 4% standard margin of profit is, standard across most grocery stores. So it looks like they are price fixing when most of them are barely above the line that makes it worth selling the product. But whatever. But my point here is that Jagmeet Singh doesn't actually care about working class people. You'll find that he's not really talking about Canadians in most of the videos and posts he makes. He's mostly just projecting hatred towards CEOs and businesses. And his definition of what excessive profits is completely nonsense. I'll bring up the post again from Twitter. If you read the community notes, which is extremely funny considering that Jagmeet Singh hasn't taken this post down and still thinks it's great. He said that it reads that Sobeys net earnings actually dropped last quarter from 173.7 million to 149.4 million. That is absolutely true. And then he said this jump in profit he is quoting is from the parent company Empire Co. Limited, and this was due to the sale of 56 of their gas stations in Western Canada. So it's not really it's not excessive profit. They sold the value of those gas stations to someone else, and now they have that money, and now it makes it look like they were super profitable last quarter, when really all that happened was that they just sold off a bunch of capital that no longer generates them any money because they don't own those gas stations anymore, and they'll take that money and reinvest it somewhere else. Nobody is making excessive profits. They're just making profit. And I don't even like the term excessive profits. There's no such thing as excessive profits. If someone is willing to buy a product at a certain price and that you have a certain profit that you take away from that, that is just profit. There's nothing excessive about it. Someone agreed to the price. And again, no business worth their salt is going to be trying to charge people up 30, 40% on produce. It doesn't make any sense because everyone else in the market's going to underprice you and no one's going to purchase anything from you. But this is the NDP's gambit. They don't have any real solutions to anything. So they're at least hoping that if they're the party that hates Galen Weston more than anyone else, the CEO of Loblaws, that maybe working class Canadians will think that they know what they're talking about. When in fact, actually, a lot of the policies that the NDP is proposing would make CEOs richer and would make these large companies like Loblaws and all the chains that they own actually much more bloated and owning more of the grocery market in Canada, because regulations and minimum wage increases that the NDP is pushing would actually make smaller grocery stores more likely to go bankrupt, giving more market share over to Loblaws. And this is also, I just want to touch on the thing that George Davis said in this comment again, because he says that shareholders need a return. And that is absolutely correct. What does Jagmeet Singh think? Because he's so involved in government these days that he thinks it's just immoral for people to invest in a company and to own shares and stocks in that company, expecting that they're going to get some benefit from investing all the money. He takes a very nationalized approach to everything. He literally has been calling for a nationalization of several industries in Canada. So he believes that, all excessive profits are evil because, it should be government run and it should be it should be profit neutral, even though government programs tend to spend way more than their equivalent private programs do, because the government is incentivized to make it cost as much as possible so they can hire as many people as possible, so they can pay their executives as much as possible. It still goes on in the public sector. Just because you want to ignore it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Dr. Verna Yu, the former AHS CEO here in Alberta, who, like TNT, a lot of my article series ended up getting her fired. She was making over $750,000 a year when you added up her salary and benefits. Completely ridiculous, and she was bad at her job. At the very least, the shareholders of Loblaws can say Galen Weston is actually very good at keeping prices low and keeping the company very profitable. But the NDP hates profit. They hate successful businesses. So they're just going to stamp their feet and whine about it. But this is something else that Jagmeet Singh posted on September 16th yesterday. He says, I'm going to get Galen Weston or the grocery store cartel monopolizing, it's 9 minutes in the video. Let me mess up once. I'm not going to let Galen Weston or the grocery cartel monopolize everything. I am introducing a bill on Monday that will crack down on price fixing, investigate and punish CEOs if they price gouge and bring prices down. Guess where that investigation is going? Nowhere, because they're not doing it. And if anything, he's going to be trying to monopolize these businesses even harder because, again, like I just said, when you pass higher minimum wages, tougher regulations, more paperwork and bureaucracy, and higher taxes on corporations, the only ones that are going to survive are the bigger ones who can handle the costs. Actually, whenever there are minimum wage increases proposed in both Canada and the U.S., the people who come in and speak in favor of the policy from the public tend to be representatives of large grocery store chains, because they like the idea that it might actually get their smaller competition to go under, because they can't afford $17 an hour, but they can. Anyways, but this is what the NDP's policy website says about this. He says, if passed, this bill will lower your grocery prices by increasing fines for price fixing, overcharging, other abuses of Canadian consumers, closing loopholes that will let companies get away with anti-competitive behavior at the expense of Canadians. And let me stop right there. So anti-competitive behavior, when has the NDP ever cared about competitive behavior? If they cared about competition in the Canadian market, they would lower taxes. They would stop backing the subsidization of the solar companies. It's completely ridiculous, but if you're in the NDP, you can square this circle peg, I guess. And then the last one says, strengthen merger laws and give the Competition Bureau more power to stop big corporations from abusing their dominant position and buying up smaller players in the market. Well, his regulations will just drive small businesses into bankruptcy, and then you're basically saying that bigger corporations cannot then fill the gap that you're creating and buy up that smaller defunct company. So effectively, grocery prices are going to go up because we're going to be left with a smaller supply of grocery stores in general. Again, Jagmeet Singh doesn't actually care about any of this. One of the YouTubers I like to watch, Kirk Wilcox, makes the point that the capitalism versus socialism debate has nothing to do with economics. It's all about this preening, preachy moralism from the socialist side. They're not arguing with capitalists that their economic systems are more efficient and better. They just think they're more moral. And so Jagmeet Singh's fine with Canadians becoming poorer as long as he can go after and yell at rich CEOs and see if he can make them poorer as well. Again, it's like the Margaret Thatcher thing, that they'd rather the poor be poorer as long as the rich were also less well off, rather than everyone be richer. It's just a very nasty and kind of gross way of thinking about Canadian politics. And as much as Jagmeet Singh tries to be the young, dynamic, fresh kind of guy in Canadian politics, he's really just a crotchety old man when it comes to a lot of economic issues. It's that other people have more money than him, they're better off than him, and he's deeply jealous. So he's going to haul Galen Weston up in front of some sort of investigative committee and yell at him for not losing money on all the products they're selling, as if Loblaws was noticeably super expensive compared to anyone else. Again, go to a mom and pop grocery store, it will probably be more expensive. They cannot actually deal in the scale Loblaws can. And I can guarantee you a small mom and pop grocery store is not price gouging. They're offering products at a price that is going to allow them to profit and will allow them to stay in business and have customers. Anyways, that's it for me today. I hate the NDP. Never vote for them. I have my usual links in the comments and description of this video. My Give, Send, Go legal fundraiser against a Chinese billionaire. It's a stupid defamation case. I'm currently winning it on behalf of TNT. And you can also sign up for TNT emails in the description of this video. Just click the link, sign up with your information, and you'll get our videos and articles sent directly to your inbox. But other than that, that's enough for me today. Have a great afternoon, everyone.